All right, so for those of you that are working and listening, I'm going to be continuing to work on my Mexican Tree of Life sculpture here. Mine is themed, the Dia de los Muertos theme, and the main subject of my tree is my grandmother. She is in the center of the tree here, in her ballroom dress because she used to ballroom dance. And then she also had parakeets, so I put some parakeets in there. And then I have resource images here. And then my grandparents also had a massive, beautiful Hass avocado tree in their yard that was growing. I think it was planted when my uncle was a kid, and he's like almost 70. So it was like a 60-year-old tree, and it had the best avocados I've ever had in my entire life. I'm very sad that we can't eat those anymore. I was going to use roses because she had a rose garden as well around the avocado tree. But I decided against that because I like the idea of the avocado leaves and avocados hanging down better than the roses, because it is an avocado tree. And then here's a parakeet. And then I don't really need a picture of my grandma because I'm turning her into a calacas, which is the skull, or the skeleton. So now I've got everything drawn in. Reminder that there's certain objectives of this sculpture and drawing that you need to achieve. One of them being symmetry. We're going for symmetrical balance, which means if you put a ruler down the middle, it would be the same on both sides. There could be slight variations in the way that you sculpt the things and add the leaves and all that, but it should be the same on both sides. That your tree limbs are attached to each other and not just sticking out. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's a ceramic thing, right? So ceramics can be somewhat fragile sometimes. So if you were making a tree like this and you decided you wanted all these like separate tree limbs coming off, these little tiny things, that's pretty fragile. And you can't see this very well. That's pretty fragile, especially in terms of transporting, right? Because you guys are going to have to take these pieces when they're bone dry and drive them to school and drop them off on a shelf. And then I need to fire them. So we're trying to find a way that we can do this with distance learning and teaching and not have these sculptures fall apart on us, okay? So this is a technical rule because I want your sculptures to survive. So you're gonna bend these tree limbs into loops and you're gonna reattach them onto the base, which is much sturdier. And let me show you that there's actually historical relevance to this rule that I'm giving you. If we scroll through all these Tree of Life sculptures, what do you notice about most of the tree limbs? Let's find some back here. What do you notice about them? Bloop, 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 bloop. They're all these sort of like circular patterns.
Miss Greninger?
Yes.
What if we like connect the tree limbs in a different way instead of like making them into loops?
Show me in your drawing. That's part of why I want you to work on this drawing so that I can help you with structural issues.
Okay.
So the answer is yes, as long as it's going to be sturdy.
Okay. Thank you.
So there's a reason. These are big. I mean, this sculpture is 90 centimeters. That's tall. So there's a reason why these limbs are all looped together, because it needs to be sturdy. It is also holding the weight of all of these figures and all of these pieces. So it's part of the style of these trees is to have the tree limbs kind of loop around and be reattached to each other. So I'm not just making this up. Okay. And then all of the things that you attach are going to be symmetrical. So if I have a bunch of avocado leaves here, they're going to be here as well. Bird, bird, some symmetry down the center. And I've also decided to put some candelabra shapes in there too. Now let me make a comment about this. You don't have to worry about it yet in your drawing, but when you start sculpting, clay shrinks. It shrinks when it dries and it shrinks in the kiln. So something that is an inch wide when you're done firing it will be about 3/4 of an inch wide. It shrinks about 1/4 of an inch by the time you're done firing it. So if you're making a candelabra that fits a tea light that you have at home, make sure to make it at least 1/4 of an inch or more wider than your tea light, or you won't be able to fit that tea light in there when you're done firing. Okay, so I'm going to just continue to work on this. I'm going to start adding more detailed color, and I'm going to think about the pattern, because I don't want to just paint it one color. I love some of these Tree of Life sculptures that have really intricate pattern painted on top. I like these older ones. This one was made in 1971, and this one was made in 1975. And I like the rustic look to it, like it's aged. And there's patches of color, and then we see a pattern painted on top of the color. I think that's just a really fun detail. And then the base has lots of pattern. Look at these really cool snakes at the bottom here. And if you want to, you can maybe create loops inside your clay that you can tie string to, and then add these little dangly pieces. That might be kind of fun. I might regret saying that because now I have to fire all these tiny little, don't do too much of that. Like I can't fire all these little bits for you, for every student. But if you have a couple, like no more than like 6, that's fine. I love the pattern in this one. And these patterns reflect the culture. You know, these are patterns that the Mexican person making this might see in their everyday life, in their clothing, in their baskets, in their culture around them. So all of these represent the culture. So yours should represent your culture. So if you, for example, let me think of an example for me. My culture, well, my dad's mom was Yugoslavian, and so I could look up sort of some heritage around that and find some patterns that are Yugoslavian. That might be kind of interesting to include in here. My grandma was German and English, so I could look up some patterns that are German and English. Or I could just think about the patterns that she had in her life, right? She sewed and she made these beautiful ballroom dresses. There were lots of polka dots with the sequins on these ballroom dresses. So maybe polka dots, I could use that as a cultural theme that makes sense for me. I'm using chalk pastel. She had many parakeets in her lifetime. They weren't all that yellow-green kind. She had some blue ones, some white ones. Now, it's hard to get fine detail with this chalk pastel because the sticks are thick. I'm going to do my best.
Miss Granger,
Mm-hmm.
for like as we go on to more like detail, since I want to make mine more into like a pine tree,
Uh-huh.
how would I technically kind of do that?
You know what, Jill, I would maybe print out or look up a picture of a pine tree.
Okay.
And I mean, this is an avocado tree, but it's very generic, right? The only thing that makes it an avocado tree are the avocado leaves and the avocados.
Yeah, it's just like that. My grandpa kind of like really loved pine trees.
Could you put
That's
some
why
pine
he
cones
loved
in there?
being in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't really get to see him that much, but like it's just something that he loved. that I kind of want to correlate in there.
Did he collect pine cones?
Sometimes.
Yeah, so maybe you could make it look like a pine tree by putting some pine cones in there.
Okay.
Sometimes art is kind of about symbols. It doesn't
Miss
have to be
Benji,
realistic. Yeah,
if we're doing one about our pet and they would sit under this like certain tree, can we put like a little mini tree of that on it?
sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure my theme is okay.
Okay.
I want to do like the stages of life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to like start at the bottom of the tree. It's gonna be like a baby, and then like the kid like grows up until like the top of the tree is like death.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was okay before I got
Yeah, see,
started on
your
it.
theme is really up to you. I don't, that's your decision. But I
Okay,
appreciate you sharing it with me because I think that's a really beautiful idea.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. So try to make your trees look somewhat three-dimensional. I'm adding some shadow to mine with a purple pastel. Definitely need to add some more avocado color to this. So everybody should be working on this drawing now. It is due in a half an hour. Doesn't have to be the best drawing you've ever done in your entire life. It really is. It's kind of like a sketch, right? It's a sketch to help us figure out how we're going to make our sculpture. Every sculptor I've ever been witness to is likes to draw or draws as well because you have to kind of work out your ideas first before if you're like, for example, if you're sculpting with steel and you've just spent $10,000 on steel, are you going to jump in there with your $10,000 steel and just start welding without any idea of what you're going to make? Maybe that's the style of the artist, but most artists have some idea before they begin what they're gonna do.
Is there a question?
Yeah.
So we can actually design the tree. Can we draw like the people as like stickmen?
Yeah.
So you don't have to like focus all the time on.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, mine looks kind of like a stick person. I mean, she is a skeleton, but yes, that would be fine. The most important thing about this drawing is like that you understand the structure, because on Monday we're gonna start sculpting our trees. So check on your clay this. Hang on one second. Check on your clay this weekend and make sure it's in good shape. Yes, Lauren.
Doesn't matter what we use to add color.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't know if it's painting's a good idea right now because you don't have too much time, but I would choose like something more immediate than painting. And you don't have to choose realistic colors. Obviously, all of these colors are very bright. And there's all these patterns, they're more decorative than realistic.
Miss Gunninger,
Mm-hmm.
I had pictures right before this, and I got here a little late. Do I have to do the check-in still?
Yes, you always have to do the check-ins. They give you attendance credit.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna make these little parakeets different colors, 'cause just to kind of represent that she had different types of parakeets over the years. I also had parakeets. I had several different kinds of. I had bad luck with parakeets. They didn't really. They didn't survive for various reasons, which was very sad. One of them tried to lay an egg and she couldn't do it, and it killed her. The other ones, one of them had a little heart attack, which was very sad. I mean, I would only assume that's what happened because she was kind of squawking and then just didn't survive. So they're pretty fragile little creatures.
Miss Greninger, could I kind of like not make it into like the same shape, just kind of like make it into a pine tree kind of shape?
Sure.
Okay.
I
Because like
I think
that's
I understand your question. I'm not 100% sure. I know.
kind of like make it look like a pine tree instead of like the structure looks like already.
Oh no, because it's a structural reason. There's a structural reason why I'm asking you to make these swirls.
Well, I was saying like I could add on kind of to it, I guess.
Jill, I'm gonna have to see your drawing in order to answer that question because it has to be sturdy, or your sculpture is gonna fall apart.
Okay.
Okay.
This is what it kind of looks like. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Yeah, that looks great.
Like, could I kind of make it more into like pine tree kind of shape? Is what I mean.
Yeah, of course. No, that looks good.
Okay.
Some kind of very noisy leaf blowing happening outside. The skeleton's going to be hard to draw because it's very tiny. The dress I do have of hers is this like mint green color. It's so awesome. Mint green and orange. Very 70s. I'm gonna shut the door. Okay. If you wanted to have a variety of different colors on, like if I wanted my candelabras to be orange on this side and red on this side, those types of variations are fine. As you can see those in here too, like yellow and pink, red and blue. There's some snails in here that are cute. Alright, so now I'm going to go over top of this, and I might choose a color that's complementary to what I have here. This is pretty cool with lots of greens and blues. So if I wanted to create some interesting patterns, I could go over top with either black or white or a complementary color. Like, I mean, look at these patterns here. There's so many colors, and then there's black and white and other colors on top of the colors. I mean, this is really intricate. You don't expect this type of intricacy with your piece unless you want to go for it. But, you know, it's something to look at and aspire to. I'm going to start with simple. And then as I'm actually painting my piece, I could get more complicated if I wanted to. Trying to do the same thing on either side. When you're glazing things, it's hard to get really bright colors unless you're doing under glazes that are kind of low fire. You can get some bright colors. But with acrylic paint, you can get super bright. I don't even know if I have black in here. Here we go. There's a tiny little piece of black. Pastels are so much fun, but they're so messy. I'm going to go through with my black pastel and do some outlining of things to really make things pop. And I might even paint that. I might even paint a black outline. That's up to me. I personally really like that graphic quality of that black outline. Yeah.
I just realized that I don't have a brown marker. Is there like a color I could change out for the like trunk instead of doing brown?
Oh, it's probably better that you don't do brown, right? Instead, choose bright colors. So purple might be good. Different shades of purple and blue.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we're not going for realism here. We're going for bright decorative colors.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. right, I think I'm done with mine. Always a good idea to put your name on your drawing, even if you're not turning it in person, physical version of it. Still a good idea to always sign your work.